folks, welcome back. This might actually be kind of a quick video. I want to talk about this like dysphoria kind of thing I've been dealing with actually for, I don't know, several months I guess. But it has to do with the gender markers on my documents, so like my driver's license, my passport, really. I am not like, for me, I don't necessarily need my birth certificate to be changed, but I think it's important and they should be able to be changed, but I was born in a state where that can't happen, and like that's not okay, but it doesn't cause the same issue for me the way that like my stuff that I use every day, like a driver's license, and to a lesser extent a passport does. And the issue I have is that I never tried to like update my gender markers because I can't update them to something like non-binary or genderqueer or an X or just blank, which really, in my opinion, like doesn't really even need to be on those documents, especially not like a driver's license. So if they were just blank for everyone, that would solve my problem. And then Oregon has done a great thing. It's going to be probably 2 or 3 weeks from the time I'm making this video to when it posts, so like it may seem like old news to you, but it kind of just recently happened, where they're making non-binary gender markers like a legal option for people to have on their driver's license. And I think if this can become more common at the state level for people to have some type of non-binary marker, we may possibly, hopefully, see that as a passport option also. That's my hope. But again, I live in a state where they won't change your birth certificate, so it's a problem. But the thing is, like, I haven't changed it because I don't identify just as male. Like, I'm definitely much more masculine aligned, and that's much more closer to my identity, but it's still not my identity, and I don't want to go through the paperwork and the cost and the hassle to have the wrong thing on there. And there's also this like little tiny idea in my like back of my head all the time, which I don't think is true, but it's like, but what if you changed it and then eventually that non-binary option became like a real thing, but you had to like go through extra steps because you'd already changed it once to something else. And again, I don't necessarily really think that would happen, but it just kind of was as a little thing. But the other thing that's happening is, like, I've been on T for a few months at this point, and I still wouldn't say like I pass specifically as male or female all of the time. It just really depends on environments. But I'm in environments where I have to show my ID, like to buy drinks or get into a club or something, or buy cough syrup, or what did I buy? It wasn't cough syrup, but I bought something like that the other day that like required an ID. And I think 98% of the time, the person checking it is not really looking at that gender, they're just checking your age and they don't care. But like there've been a couple instances. So one was when I was traveling, I just felt like, if one or the other, like either my license or my passport had like nothing or non-binary or an X, I would have been able to travel with that and been more comfortable dealing with the like TSA people. And I've never had an issue flying yet. I've only flown, I want to say like 3 trips, so like 6 times since I've been like out and like actively presenting in a way that doesn't necessarily match my ID. And then I went out to watch hockey, and someone told me about like a Pittsburgh bar in Columbus, and they're like, they'll have the game on, and they did, and there were all these people with like their Pittsburgh jerseys, and I was like, this is great. But it was also like super straight because it's a like sports bar, not a specifically gay sports bar. So I show my ID and I realize like this guy's kind of looking at it for a long time, and I don't know if it's, it was dark in there, so it could have just been like whatever, but he's a bartender, he sees IDs a lot. And I don't know, it made it like uncomfortable, especially when later on in the night I had to use the restroom, and I used the men's restroom because there are factors for which restroom I use when I'm out places, but that's what I did at that time, and I was just like, this is uncomfortable. And that's the thing. Having the wrong information on my ID is uncomfortable, but it's also getting to a point where it's going to match how I present and look less and less, which is where I'm concerned about. I don't really think it's going to be an issue. I don't think I am going to like have any negative consequences, but I do have like external negative consequences. But like lately, every time I've had to show my ID for something, I've had this little moment, and it's like, it doesn't matter what kind of day I'm having, if I've been conscious about like gender stuff or not, which a lot of times I'm not. I'm just like at the grocery store or like wanting to go out and watch hockey and have a drink or whatever. And then there's this moment where it's like a reminder, like there's something different, there's something that's not going to match for other people, and best case scenario is they're not paying attention and it doesn't matter. Worst case is, well, worst case would be like a harassment thing. But I think realistically for me and the places I frequent, it might just be getting a lot of uncomfortable questions and not feeling comfortable where I'm at. But that's it. Like, I'm dealing with this and I really hate it. And it's kind of like the one thing where it's like, what do I feel like I need next, like in my transition, or like really important? And I need to be able to have that non-binary gender marker thing that doesn't exist for me in Ohio, and it doesn't exist on a national like passport level yet. And that's the other part of it. Like, I've had a couple people where they're like, oh, like that's probably coming, and they're right. But then they're like, but it's gonna be a long time. It might be 20 years. And I don't even disagree with them. Like, they're probably correct. Hopefully less than that. But it's never a good idea to tell anyone that they have to wait for like an equal thing, or like equality feels dramatic. But for like those types of like rights, like everyone gets to have the gender, like their gender on their documents match if they are cis. And if they're a binary trans person, they still have to go through a lot of paperwork and hassle and pay money. And then you kind of have to keep track of all of that paperwork for the rest of your life for whenever you're doing new things. So it's not like it's easy, but it's kind of a thing if you're binary trans, or even if you're non-binary and you're comfortable changing to a different gender or just keeping your assigned gender on your documents, where it's like, it's done and then it's done. But it doesn't exist for me at all. And that's where I feel like the issue is in like the dysphoria, because it's not anything I can change. Everything else I can do something about, whether it's hormones or surgery or like exercising or dressing differently or having a different haircut. Like, there are ways to manage dysphoria a little bit. Like, not to say that you don't still have it or that I don't still have it about lots of things, but this is the one area where there's nothing that I can currently do about it. And I did have someone in like a non-binary group I'm on months ago said they're in Ohio and they were working with a lawyer like towards like how to get non-binary or an X or something on like Ohio documents. I was like, yes. And myself and a few other people in that group like reached out and said like, please like let us be part of this if you need more people. And I never heard from them or like any lawyers or anything, but that stuff takes time. So like, I'm hopeful and it's possible seeing like it go through in Oregon, and I'm pretty sure I read like an individual who's, I believe they're intersex, in California was successful in getting like some type of like alternative identifier on their like driver's license. So it's kind of, if we see more and more states go to it, then maybe, but I still can't do anything right now. So anyways, like it's kind of a different, I guess, like topic. People usually just like, hey, yay, I got my gender marker changed. And I'm over here like, hey, I really, really want my gender marker changed. Like, I really want that. It's to the point where like there are moments that the fact that it says F on my document doesn't cause me dysphoria. The fact that I have to show it to other people and it could potentially make it an awkward situation, or just like, it just reminds me that it's wrong, like triggers that dysphoria. And usually in times when I'm like out trying to have a good time, I don't need that. So like, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know if other people feel this way, if it's less of an issue for some people, if you are just comfortable with having what it says, or if you're like, I'm transitioning, so I'm just gonna change it, and like that's okay for you. I don't know. I don't feel like changing it to male is the right thing. But I know that the like more masculine I look, the weirder it's gonna be, and I don't want it to get to a point where like a bouncer or a bartender is like, this is a fake ID. And I'm like, no, I'm just like this non-binary trans person who's not changing it to the wrong thing. Okay, so that wasn't that short and was probably a little bit dramatic, but It's been really bothering me for months, and it's kind of, ugh, I can't, like I said, I can't, there's not a fix until it's just available. So are there things like that for you where other people don't really talk about them, but they're like a huge thing for you? I would be interested in that, and like maybe it's a huge thing for me too, and I just didn't know other people wanted to talk about it. So leave me a comment. Have a great day, and I will be back from vacation next week, so I will try to remember to update you on like the beach situation and how that all went. Bye.